When you think about tablets, the standard iPad is probably the first thing that pops into your head, right? Well, Samsung just gave their most affordable big screen tablet a fresh makeover, and it's hitting the scene as the Galaxy Tab A11 Plus. We'll take a deep dive into the design, display, battery, performance, and cameras of these two tabs to see if this $249 Samsung is all you really need, or if you're better off dropping more cash for an iPad. Hey, I'm Olive, your host here at Versus.com, and remember that you can join our community by hitting the join button below for exclusive videos and perks. And here's a shout out to Lefa for becoming an Ultra member. Right off the bat, you'll see the Galaxy has a more panoramic shape, and the button layout basically invites you to use it horizontally. The iPad is way more square, and that Apple logo on the back pretty much tells you it's meant to be held vertically by default. When it comes to the build, we have aluminium unibodies on both, but the Galaxy has this plastic strip to help with signal reception on 5G models. However, it does make the tab feel a little less premium. They're basically neck and neck in the weight department, so you won't really feel a difference in your daily life. To unlock these tabs, we have Touch ID on the power button on the iPad, whereas the Galaxy basically lacks any kind of biometric sensors. It does have face unlock, but since it only uses the selfie cam and has no depth sensors, it's definitely not the most secure option. On the other hand, Apple gave the iPad zero official protection against the elements, while Samsung gave the A11 Plus an IP52 rating. It's not quite a submarine like the S series, but it'll handle dust and accidental water splashes just fine. So as always, let's check in with the team and see who likes which design best.
The iPad.
The iPad.
The iPad.
The iPad.
The Samsung.
The iPad.
The Samsung. What about you?
I'm also gonna have to go for the Galaxy. But we're sure you're mostly here because you want to know how good these displays are. So let's check them out. Even though the screen sizes are nearly identical, the aspect ratio is where things really split up. The iPad rocks a 10.8-inch display with an almost 4:3 ratio, while the Galaxy features an 11-inch panel at 16:10, making it way better for video content. The Galaxy uses a TFT LCD, while the iPad goes with an IPS LCD. But the Galaxy supports a 90Hz refresh rate, leaving the iPad stuck in the past at just 60Hz. In our typical high brightness test where we accurately simulate direct sunlight, both tabs actually hit about the same brightness levels. This means that they're both great for indoor use, but if you're heading outside, don't expect a miracle. Now, feel free to pause the video right here for even more info on screen specs. So both of these tabs will handle your movie nights and scrolling just fine. That said, the iPad gives you a bit more resolution and slightly more accurate colors. However, the Galaxy wins on smoothness with that higher refresh rate, plus you get more screen real estate for movies. Just keep in mind that since it's a TFT build, the viewing angles aren't exactly top tier. Of course, you can't have a good movie night without solid audio. So let's check out those speakers. The Galaxy is packing 4 speakers, one in every single corner, and they even support Dolby Atmos. The iPad, on the other hand, only gets 2 speakers despite having 4 speaker grills. Let's drop some beats and hear the difference.
I'm a little too into you. Got my head over my shoes, but I like it, I like it. I'm a little too into you. Got me up over the moon, but I like it, I like it.
Having listened to them here in the studio, honestly, both of these tabs are pretty weak on the bass and heavy on the treble. Still, the Galaxy definitely cranks the volume louder thanks to those quad speakers, though the iPad isn't lagging too far behind. Oh, and for you wired headphone users, you'll be pleased to hear that the Galaxy also comes with a classic headphone jack. By the way, we see that plenty of you are watching, but you haven't hit that subscribe button yet. So tap it right now if you want even more deep dives like this one. And if you want to grab any of these by the end of this video, we've got direct links waiting for you right in the description. Now, let's see how these cameras look just in case you plan on taking some video calls. Samsung slapped an 8-megapixel sensor on the back of the Galaxy, while Apple went with a 12-megapixel shooter for the iPad. Both tabs take decent photos, but here the Galaxy actually does a better job managing bright highlights and the white balance, while the iPad takes the lead in raw detail. In low light, it's a mess for both. The Galaxy keeps the colors realistic, but looks super soft, while the iPad is sharper but looks dull and grainy. Oh, and if you're a fan of portrait mode, that's a feature you'll only find on the Galaxy. When it comes to video, the Galaxy tops out at 1080p 30 FPS, but the iPad can actually shoot in 4K at 60 FPS. There's just no contest here. The iPad simply takes much better video with far more detail. The Galaxy might have punchier colors, but the dynamic range is pretty limited. In low light, the iPad's quality takes a massive nosedive, almost falling to the Galaxy's level, but honestly, they're both pretty rough in the dark. For the front cameras, we've got a small 5-megapixel lens on the Samsung and another 12-megapixel one on the iPad. In good lighting, the quality and the colors are actually pretty close, but the iPad has a huge advantage with its much wider field of view, perfect for fitting more people in the frame. In low light, the Galaxy actually looks a bit higher quality, even if the white balance is totally wonky. Interestingly, if you use the zoomed in mode on the iPad, the quality jumps up and easily beats out the Samsung. And just like the main cam, the Galaxy gives you portrait mode for selfies, which is totally missing on the iPad. For selfie videos, both are stuck at 1080p, but the Galaxy only hits 30 FPS while the iPad can do a smooth 60 FPS. Again, in good light, they both do the job. However, the iPad has more pleasing skin tones and a wider dynamic range, which you can really see in the highlights and shadows. So now let's test out the audio coming from both of these devices. We'll start off with the Galaxy Tab. What do you guys think? How do I sound over here? Then we have the iPad. Does it sound better than the Galaxy? What do you think? As always, let's talk about it. As for the audio, you're gonna get some echo on both, but the iPad sounds a bit clearer, which is definitely a win for your video calls. When the lights go down, the video quality on both just tanks. The iPad especially gets super blurry, while the Galaxy actually holds up a tiny bit better. Look, neither of these is gonna replace your smartphone camera, but the iPad will be the clear winner for most people. That wide-angle front cam is a total lifesaver when you just want to set the tab down and hop on a call. So that's the camera situation. Now let's see how they actually perform when you put them to work. The Galaxy is rocking either the new MediaTek MT8775 or the Dimensity 7300, depending on where you're buying. This is virtually the same chip, just with a different name. The iPad is powered by the Apple A16, which we last saw in the iPhone 15. For RAM, both of our slates are rocking 6GB. When it comes to storage, you can get either 128 or 256GB on both, but the iPad goes a step further with a 512GB option. However, the Galaxy has micro SD support, meaning you can add up to 2TB of extra space for cheap. Both tabs come in Wi-Fi only or Wi-Fi plus 5G cellular connectivity. But to really see what these tablets can do, we threw them into some real-world testing, starting with gaming. We ran 15-minute sessions with a cooldown time in between. First up, Grid Auto Sport on graphics mode. Both tabs handled this like absolute champs, locking in at 30 FPS and staying there. They both stayed relatively cool too, with no crazy heat spikes. But then we fired up Withering Waves with these settings cranked to the max, and the Galaxy definitely started to struggle. It dropped all the way down to 18 FPS and hit 104 degrees. The iPad reached a much smoother 60 FPS, though its performance got cut in half after a while, even if it stayed a bit cooler. Moving on from gaming, we exported 99 photos in Lightroom. Once again, the iPad smoked the Galaxy, finishing the job in under 7 minutes. Next, we rendered a 1-minute 4K 30 FPS video in CapCut. Both actually did great here, finishing in under a minute, though the iPad still crossed the finish line first. Now let's take a look at some benchmarks. In Geekbench 6, the iPad absolutely demolished the Galaxy, scoring over 3 times higher in single core and double in multi-core. In the 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme Stress Test, the iPad dominated once again. The Galaxy scores were so low they didn't even break into the triple digits. As for Antutu, you can't really compare Android and iOS directly because of how the scores are calculated, updated, so just take these numbers as a reference. So if you're planning on doing light video editing or gaming, the iPad is the clear winner and the better option between the two. The Galaxy is no slouch and totally fine for browsing and casual games, but just don't expect to emulate Grand Theft Auto 6 on it. Now, raw power is one thing, but what about the software experience? The Galaxy comes loaded with One UI 8 based on Android 16, while the iPad is running iPad OS 26.3. Samsung is playing the long game here, promising a massive 7 years of OS and security patches for the A11 Plus. Apple never gives an official expiration date, but they usually keep their devices updated for about 7 years too. One UI on the Samsung feels snappy and it's packed with personalization options. But multitasking is where this tab really shines. You've got the edge panels that make jumping into split screen or pop-up windows a total breeze. Plus, it has on-device Samsung DeX, so you can manage windows and desktops like on a computer. You can even use the clipboard side panel to drag and drop text, links, or images exactly where you need them. While you won't find the advanced AI from the expensive S series here, you still get handy tricks like Smart Select, Gemini, and Circle to Search ready to go. Galaxy tabs are famous for the S Pen, but the A11 Plus does not come with one, and it's actually completely incompatible with it, so if you're planning to sketch, well, you're out of luck. iPad OS also brings some productivity options with windowed apps and Stage Manager, which gives you a more Mac-like experience for moving windows around. But outside of that, it still feels a lot like a giant iPhone. Also, just so you aren't disappointed later, you get zero access to Apple Intelligence here. If you use those fancy AI features on your iPhone and expect them on your tablet, well, you're out of luck. On the bright side, unlike the Galaxy, you do have precise stylus support with the Apple Pencil if you're into taking notes or drawing. But now let's move on to our very last category. Both of these tabs have pretty similar batteries inside, though the iPad takes the lead with a 7,606 mAh unit. When it comes to wired charging, the Galaxy officially tops out at 25 watts, while Apple keeps that number secret. And nope, there's no wireless charging on either of these. In our battery drain test, we calibrated both tablets to the same brightness level in nits and disabled all battery-saving features. We ran a 4-app loop spending 2 hours on each, starting with Google Maps, then moving to YouTube video streaming, then YouTube Music, and finally video calling. We kept that cycle going until the screens went dark. The first one to call an Uber back home was the iPad, tapping out at 6 hours and 29 minutes. About 20 minutes later, the Galaxy followed suit, lasting a bit longer with a total time of 6 hours and 49 minutes. In our charging test using a 100 watts brick, the Galaxy was the first one back in the fight, taking 1 hour and 35 minutes. Interestingly, it peaked at 26 watts, which is 1 watt higher than what Samsung advertises. The iPad took a much slower 2 hours and 12 minutes, even though it hit a higher peak of 31 watts. Now, let's talk about how much you're gonna have to squeeze your wallet. The Galaxy officially retails for just $249, while the iPad starts at $349. That's a $100 difference, enough to buy you 5 toasters to put in every corner of your place for those emergency toast cravings. If you need 5G connectivity though, the prices jump up to $279 for the Samsung and a much steeper $499 for the iPad. When we look at the big picture, the iPad definitely comes out on top as the better overall package. It's got more raw power, better cameras, and that build quality just feels more premium. Plus, you actually get stylus support. If you need that extra muscle and solid cameras, there's no doubt that this is the one to grab. But hey, if you just want a tablet that gets the job done, rocks at multitasking, and is great for watching movies, the Galaxy is the way to go. Plus, it's a whole $100 cheaper right out of the gate, and that's not even counting the sweet deals that you can find. So what's the verdict? Is one of these enough for you, or are you looking for more horsepower? If that's the case, you can check out our comparison between this iPad, the OnePlus Pad Go 2, and the Galaxy Tab S10 FE right here. And if you're still craving more power, definitely take a look at our face-off between the monster iPad Pro M5 and the Galaxy Tab S11 Ultra. Oh, and before you go order food for the third time this week, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and hit subscribe because we're always testing the latest tech to help you make the best choice. We'll see you in our next video, and until then, take care.